I want to tell you something I've come to believe, and I'm going to say it as plainly as I know how. Most of what runs your life is not part of you, and you wouldn't recognize it if it bumped into you in the street. I'm not being mystical about this. I'm being literal. Underneath the version of you that answers emails and makes small talk and tells the dentist you've been flossing, there's another you, a quieter one, an older one, and the one who learned somewhere very early what was safe and what was not, what love looked like, what you were worth, whether the world was kind or whether you had to keep up your guard just in case. That version of you does not check in with the conscious version. It does not ask permission. It just runs, and it's been running for decades. Most of us spend our entire lives wondering why we keep ending up in the same room, with the same feeling, with the same fight, with the same panic rising up at the same moment we blame ourselves. We try to think our way out of it, and thinking does not work. The thinking does not work because the thinking is not where it lives. It lives somewhere underneath the thinking. And it has been telling us a story we never agreed to. Today's guest has spent the last 16 years walking carefully, patiently, and with extraordinary skill into that underneath place. He has done it with veterans carrying things no human being should have to carry. He's done it with cancer patients. He's done it with children, athletes, entrepreneurs, and ordinary tired people who finally said enough. And he's done it with himself. Tonight, he's going to do a bit of it with us. Settle in. This is one we've been looking forward to for a long time. This is Spirit Talk Show, Bedtime Stories for Grown-Ups. Thank you for listening. My guest tonight is Craig Meriwether. Craig is a clinical hypnotherapist, a medical hypnosis specialist, and what he calls, and I love this phrasing, a subconscious transformation expert. For more than 16 years, he has helped people heal in the place most of us never thought to look. Early childhood trauma, veterans with post-traumatic stress, cancer patients managing pain, students paralyzed by test anxiety, entrepreneurs frozen by self-doubt, athletes chasing peak performance, and the long, quiet line of people who simply walk into his work overwhelmed and afraid, and walk out a little freer. His training came through the Hypnotherapy Academy of America, North America's premier hypnotherapy institute, including over 100 hours in past life and natal regression. That is rare. That is deep water. And it tells you something about the kind of practitioner Craig has chosen to become. He is not a surface-level operator. He is willing to go where the work actually lives. He is author of the best-selling program, Depression 180, about which one of the senior physicians at University of Arizona's Center for Integrated Medicine has said is the most comprehensive, user-friendly resource for people struggling with depression he has come across. Craig is a featured author in New York best-time seller, Pearls of Wisdom, alongside Jack Canfield, Marcy Simoff, and Janet Atwood. He created the Mind Mastery Blueprint, the Life Transformation Kit, and for several years he hosted his own podcast, Tipping Point Radio, where he sat across the mic from Marianne Williamson, Joe Dispenza, Greg Braden, Teal Swan, Bruce Lipton, and others. So when I tell you Craig has spent his career inside this conversation, I mean it. He has been in it. Tonight's going to be different from most episodes of the Spirit Talk Show. I want to flag that for you so you can be ready. We're not going to just talk about work. Craig is going to teach us, live on air, actual techniques that can reset the nervous system, ease anxiety, and shift brain chemistry in minutes. You're going to walk out of this episode with something you can use next time your own underneath play starts running the show. Bring a quiet room, bring an open hour, bring yourself. I want to tell you something I've come to believe, and I'm going to say it as plainly as I know how. Most of what runs your life is not part of you. Most of what runs your life is not part of you, and you would. Most of what runs your life is not part of you, and you wouldn't recognize it if it bumped into you in the street. I'm not being mystical about this. I'm being literal. Underneath the version of you that picks out a t-shirt in the morning underneath the version of you that answers emails and makes small talk and tells the dentist you've been flossing, there's another you, a quieter one, an older one, and the one who learned somewhere very early what was safe and what was not, what love looked like, what you were worth, whether the world was kind or whether you had to be, or whether you had to keep up your guard, or whether you had to keep up your guard just in case. That version of you does not check in with consciousness. That version of you does not check in with the conscious version. It does not ask permission. It just runs. And it's been running for decades. Most of us spend our entire lives wondering why we keep ending up in the same room, with the same feeling, with the same fight, with the same panic rising up at the same moment. We blame ourselves. We try to think our way out of it, and thinking does not work. The thinking does not work because the thinking is not where it lives. It lives somewhere underneath the thinking. And it has been telling us a story we never agreed to. Today's guest has spent the last 16 years walking carefully, patiently, and with extraordinary skill into that underneath place. He has done it with veterans carrying things no human being should have to carry. He's done it with cancer patients. He's done it with children, athletes, entrepreneurs, and ordinary tired people who finally said enough. And he's done it with himself. Tonight, he's going to do a bit of it with us. Settle in. This is one we've been looking forward to for a long time. Intro. This is Spirit Talk Show, Bedtime Stories for Grown-Ups. Thank you for listening. My guest tonight is Craig Meriwether. Craig is a clinical hypnotherapist, a medical hypnosis specialist, and what he calls, and I love this phrasing, a subconscious transformation expert. For more than 16 years, he has helped people heal in the place most of us never thought to look: early childhood trauma, veterans with post-traumatic stress, cancer patients managing pain, students paralyzed by test anxiety, entrepreneurs frozen by self-doubt, athletes chasing peak performance, and the long, quiet line of people who simply walk into his work overwhelmed and afraid and walk out a little freer. His training came through the Hypnotherapy Academy of America, North America's premier hypnotherapy institute, including over 100 hours in past life and natal regression. That is rare. That is deep. That is deep water. That is deep water. And he tells you something about the kind of practitioner. And it tells you something about the kind of practitioner Craig has chosen to become. He is not a surface level operator. He's willing to go where the work actually lives. He is author of the best-selling program, Depression 180, about which one of the senior physicians at University of Arizona's Center for Integrated Medicine has said is the most comprehensive, user-friendly resource for people struggling with depression he has come across. Craig is a featured author in New York Best-Time Seller, Pearls of Wisdom, alongside Jack Canfield, Marcy Simov, and Janet Atwood. He created the Mind Mastery Blueprint. He created the Mind Mastery Blueprint, the Life Transformation Kit, and for several years he hosted his own podcast, Tipping Point Radio. Tipping Point.
Tied yourself into creating maybe a
right across the mic from Marianne Williamson, Joe DiPenza, Greg Braden, Teal Swan, Bruce Lipton, and others. So when I tell you Craig has spent his career inside this conversation, I mean it. He has been in it. Tonight's going to be different from most episodes of the Spirit Talk Show. I want to flag that for you so you can be ready. we're not going to just talk about work. Craig is going to teach us live on air, actual techniques that can reset the nervous system, ease anxiety, and shift brain chemistry in minutes. You're going to walk out of this episode with something you can use next time your own underneath play starts running the show. Bring a quiet room, bring an open hour, bring yourself. Craig, welcome to Spirit Talk Show.
Changing your physiology by changing brain chemistry to create that adrenaline cortisol to get you into that fight or flight stress response. Out of control. So what a lot of these techniques will help you do is gain back that control, again, almost kind of reverse engineer what you've done. And so, yeah, unfortunately, there's a lot of those misconceptions and myths. But what's fascinating, even like with the Las Vegas shows or comedy club shows, everybody gets up on that stage to do silly things like, dance like Michael Jackson or sing like Elvis Presley or quack like ducks or whatever the thing is. Every single person that gets up there volunteers to be up there.
Yeah,
they want to be there. They want to be part of the show. They want to be star of the show. They want to have a funny video to put on Instagram. They just want to act silly in front of their friends. Just want to have a good time. And look at them at the end of the show. They all have a big smile on their face. They had a great time. And who's the hypnotist as they come out? Hey, everybody, welcome to the show. We're gonna have a great time. Who are they going to pick? The introvert at the back of the room, sinking down in the shadows, trying to hide, or the extrovert who got there early, jumping up and down, saying "pick me," up in the front row? One of them is going to do a better show.
Yeah, because they know the person wants it to work on them, and they want to show. Because I went up on stage one time in one of those shows, but I was dismissed quickly because I think I thought it was going to do something to me, rather than I had to agree to do the stuff. Yeah. So I was expecting some magical change, which I'm sure a lot of people think of. So
they call up 12, 14 people up on stage because 3 or 4 of them are going to be excused.
Yeah.
Because what the hypnotist is looking for is subtle cues of facial expressions and eye dilation and maybe jaw relaxing a little bit, or
like
all these subtle cues that they're looking for to see if you can go into a relaxed state in front of 100 people with bright lights shining on you. Everybody's got their phone out, and there's people who get stage fright, even if they want to get up there. They didn't maybe really think it through, and they get stage fright and they get nervous, and that's not a great state to be in to move into that relaxed state of mind and body to go have a fun show. And so, yeah, a lot of people get excused, and it's not that you can't be hypnotized, is you didn't want to be, or there was a aspect of that made you feel uncomfortable, and that was noticeable to this professional.
Yes.
And said, okay, well, this guy, give me half an hour and we can do something, but I don't have a half an hour. I'm doing a show. And there's people maybe listening and say, well, I tried hypnosis and I can't be hypnotized. Really, 20% of the people can't be hypnotized. That's not a thing.
Yeah.
The state of hypnosis is just brainwave state. It's just the alpha, theta brainwave state. It's just literally how fast your brain is processing information. It's a state you move into, this altered state of consciousness of the alpha brainwave state, that daydreamy state where your mind drifts away. You're bored at a meeting at work.
Yeah.
You're bored back in high school math class. You're driving down the street and you don't remember the last minute or two. You miss your exit. You find yourself in your garage. You don't remember how you got there. At the store, you don't remember the last 5 blocks. You've altered your state of consciousness, your subconscious mind. That part of mind you're not aware of took over driving. You started thinking about something else. You've altered your state of consciousness driving down the street or being bored at a meeting at work or watching a TV show. That's hypnosis. You can do it because you do it every day. It's just you didn't want to do it potentially in that situation. You were uncomfortable maybe with the person or with the work that you were supposed to do. Maybe you weren't ready to do the work and you didn't do it because you were in control. You can't make somebody do something they don't want to do.
And also what you said is people think they can't change and they think they're set in their ways and they have to, so they have to choose, they have to want to walk into it, I'm sure, like everything. They need to walk into therapy. And so you have this best-selling book, which is called Depression 180 because a complete turnaround. See, I'm a math guy. And so some people will say, I did it. I did a total 360. I hope not. So, because,
Yeah.
but
Right. Where you started.
yeah, you're back where you started. That's not the kind of math you want to be doing. So, I know that you said that we spoke about you doing some stuff on the show tonight. I did in my intro. I did promise the listeners there was going to be in this episode. We're actually going to do some techniques with them we had discussed. So if you're open to something like that, I don't know. Is it a process of? Is there a few things we can do, or is there one long thing? Or so you got to help me understand that part of it.
Yeah, just kind of depends on what you want to do. In terms of doing a process, we just do a guided process of, building up some confidence.
Okay.
Something like that. It'd be more like a kind of a guided visualization kind of process. If people, think your listeners would be interested.
Okay. Yeah. They would probably love it. They would to take something away that can help them visualize. And I know, by the way, I've had the experience where I've driven home. I have a pretty long drive home. I've driven home and I turn on my street and it's like, wait, I don't remember passing the lake. I don't remember passing the gas station. I don't remember, it's like I almost woke up. I didn't go to sleep, but I mean, I suddenly, I clicked into consciousness as I turned to my street and I don't recall all those milestones I usually see along the way to my house. So I definitely experienced that. So, okay. So how does, you said confidence, does that mean it's specifically to help someone get more confidence, or is that what you mean, or confidence in what aspect?
It depends. Anything, and that's the beauty of this work. What do you want to work on? Mm-hmm. If you and in terms of there's going to be hundreds of people listening to this over the course of the internet.
I mean, I'm the one here, so let's think about what I want to work on. Then people could choose their own thing, right? Is that what you mean?
Exactly. Yeah. And so this will be more of a generalized kind of process. Okay. In and of itself, it could be erasing some sort of beliefs you have about yourself of not being worthy, and installing more confidence in yourself. Excellent. Or confidence in speaking in front of people, or feeling empowered and strong within yourself. It could be a lot of different things.
Important work a lot of people need, and a lot of people are going through life as not really knowing having bad self-talk towards themselves, and it's something that I'm trying to explore ways to get out of that, to get out of this way that we experience ourselves. And the show has afforded me the opportunity to speak to people like you, and that's a cool, really, really fun, cool part of it. But okay, so if you're open, let's see how the process works. I don't know how.
Sure. Okay. Yeah, and of course, if you're listening to this while you're driving, this probably isn't the best time to close your eyes, or if you're watching, supervising the kids around the swimming pool. But if you're in a safe place and you can, find a comfortable place maybe to sit down or even lie down and close your eyes, this is a wonderful process. Okay. Or maybe just clock where we are in the podcast and come back to it. But if you want to get comfortable, again, you can sit, maybe recline in a chair, lay down on the bed or the floor if it's comfortable for you. And I want you to imagine a healing place. Imagine a healing space just for you. A beautiful place out in nature. In fact, let's make this a tropical beach. It's a beautiful beach, and it's a beautiful place of your own. You're the only one there. It's your private healing beach, your own private lagoon, your own private island. The waves gently lapping up on the shore. You're the only one there. It's a place where you feel so safe, a place where you can make all sorts of perfect, positive, healing life changes. A place that's so positive for you, a place that's so nourishing for you in all the right ways, a place that's so nurturing for you in all the right ways, a place that's so healing, a place where you feel, again, so absolutely safe, a place where no negativity of any kind could exist there even for a fraction of a second. As you find yourself walking along this beach down at the waterline, or you even feel the gentle ocean waves lapping up over your feet. Feel your feet sinking into the wet sand. It's the perfect temperature all around you. You even hear the sounds of nature around you. Maybe the wind through palm trees, the gentle ocean waves. Smell the sweet scents of the ocean around you. As you're walking along the beach, as you're coming up, notice that there are words written in the sand. And as you get closer, you notice that these are negative words, negative phrases, negative sentences even. These are negative words, negative phrases that represent feelings that you have within your mind, your body, your spirit, your emotions. They may be uncomfortable labels that you have been given in the past, or maybe you've given yourself in the past. Labels, or phrases, or words that have slowed you down and failed to reflect your actual, true, wonderful, powerful, amazing qualities. So it's these words. Maybe some are written really big, some are small, some are medium. Maybe some are just lightly written in the sand. Maybe some are like almost gouged, like with a big stick, gouged into the sand. And maybe there's just a handful of words. Maybe there's 20 words and phrases. Maybe there's 100. Maybe there's just hundreds and hundreds of yards of words and phrases and sentences, and maybe even symbols or drawings that represent negativity, limiting beliefs you have about yourself or the world or about life. Maybe you see words like doubt or fear, anxiety or overwhelm, or worry or hopelessness or failure or trouble. So it's these words in the sand, the sentences, the phrases. Because it's time to be done with all these useless labels, these useless negative words and phrases and sentences and symbols and drawings. It's time to get rid of them. And so as you're standing there seeing all these words and phrases along the beach, no matter how, maybe they're so far down the beach you can't even see the end of it. With your mind, start moving the water up along the beach, higher and higher, like it's becoming high tide. And notice that the water starts washing away, clearing away all those words, all those phrases, all those sentences, all the symbols, all the drawings. Even if it's gouged way down into the sand, these words, notice that the water cleanses and cleans the sand, returns it to its natural state. Erases all those words you were seeing in the past. Simply, easily, gently, safely, the water keeps rising up higher and higher, again like it's becoming high tide. Erasing, clearing, cleansing all the negative words, all the labels, all the sentences, all the phrases. Removing, erasing them, cleansing the entire beach. Allow one more wave gently to rise up all the way as far as it needs to cleanse and clean, erase, remove the last of it. And notice the beach having returned to its natural state. Feeling so relaxed and at ease now, resting more and more as you renew, restore, and rejuvenate your body, your mind, now. I want you now to notice a large boulder on the beach. A huge rock formation. It's right there on the beach. It's a flat surface. It's facing you. Kind of looks like a wall. A wall made of smooth rock right there on the beach. It's, again, there just for you. It's your rock wall. And you notice at the base of this rock wall, all sorts of tools to carve into rock. Maybe there's a hammer and chisel. Maybe there's a battery-operated power tool. Maybe a futuristic laser. Maybe there's a magic wand. Or maybe with your powerful imagination, you can use your finger to carve words into the rock. Whatever works best for you is the right way to do this next empowering exercise. So whichever tool you use, you're going to be able to easily chisel, carve, and cut onto your rock, into your rock, using the best tool for you. You're going to be easily and effortlessly write words that you choose to install into your powerful subconscious mind. You're going to write phrases, sentences, symbols, drawings, representing all of the positive things you want in your life. So you'll embody these words and phrases within your beliefs, your thoughts, and your behaviors by the time you open your eyes at the end of this process. Positive words, empowering phrases, sentences. And you're able to do this quickly and easily, and maybe the first word you chisel permanently and onto your rock is confident or confidence. Or maybe a phrase like, I am confident, or I am confident in this situation. Because this word describes you, it describes who you are and all that you're about. You are confident now. And it's a defining word in your life, a word that dictates how your life will go, because you are confident. So you chisel this, you carve it permanently on your rock wall and install it into your subconscious mind. You can do this easily and gently, like you will with all the words and phrases. Maybe another word may be powerful or focused or motivated or calm or beautiful. What are the words you want to install? What are the phrases you want to install? This is your opportunity to program your own subconscious mind. Maybe words like with words like peace or joy or happiness or health or healing or something else. Go ahead and carve into your rock any other words or phrases or sentences that you choose to install into your powerful subconscious mind. So you embody these words and phrases into your beliefs. Maybe just start carving symbols or drawings that represent all the positive things you want installed into your subconscious. Because people see you as confident. You embody these things, these words, these phrases. That's right. If you're not done yet, you can continue chiseling more empowering positive words, carving in more empowering words. Because I want you to realize that people see you as being confident. They see you as being powerful. They see you as being a good person, a wonderful person, an amazing person. People see you as an example of how people live when they are confident, when they're focused. And this feels so good. You feel relaxed in every situation because you have the confidence to make sure that everything is going to work out. And as you finish now chiseling the last few words on the wall, when you're done, you just stand back and look at your wall. Look at the words, maybe confidence, or I am confident, or motivated, or focused, or happy, or joyful, or healthy, or healed. Whatever it may be, realize these words, these labels, these phrases and sentences describe you now, as they are now installed into your subconscious mind. And from this point forward, these are words that you live by, phrases, sentences that you live by, computer code installed in your subconscious mind. You can even imagine yourself in the near future, maybe in a situation that used to cause you discomfort or awkwardness or being uncomfortable or maybe even hurt or pain, maybe a meeting at work or a relationship or maybe some other issue. But notice now it's different. Notice the situation in the near future. Notice how your confidence, your peace, your calm, your positive energy flows easily. You maintain your groundedness, your centeredness, your confidence, your motivation. Because you realize you're kind to yourself and you take care of yourself for all the right reasons and in all the right ways and all the ways you need and want. And in doing so, you feel even better about yourself, more and more now each and every day. Feel even more confident. Feel good about yourself in every situation, feeling confident about yourself. Because this is a part of who you are. And everything you carved or cut or chiseled into that rock wall, all the wonderful positive transformations you've created because of it, all the good things you've experienced in this process are installed in a place where it can easily take root and grow inside of you more and more now each and every day. So that every time you open your eyes in the morning, you feel peaceful, calm, relaxed, ready for the day and all the challenges that life might bring. And in a moment, I'm going to count from 1 up to 5, and your eyes will only open when you know it's going to get better. Only open your eyes when the wisdom, the knowledge, the visualizations, all the suggestions you've heard, experienced, and carved upon that rock wall during this session are accepted, installed, and locked in by your subconscious and conscious minds. And with every number you hear, all the positive experiences, powerful transformations, all the words carved and chiseled onto the rock wall, the positive transformation from this session becomes 10 times stronger, 100 times more powerful, and 1,000 times more healing. 1. Just pretend you feel the way you wish to feel for the rest of the day, the rest of the week, the rest of the month, the rest of the year, for the next decade, knowing that you're the one who is creating your best life ever. 2. All the suggestions from me to you, from you to your subconscious mind, energizing your entire being so you feel more confident, healthy, motivated, and joyful each and every day. 3. You realize that your subconscious and conscious minds start using all the healing, all the knowledge, all the wisdom you now have to create all the joy, health, and confidence you want and anything else you need and want for all the right reasons and in all the right ways. 4. When you're ready, and you know you're ready to start a brand new chapter in a brand new healthy and energetic life, go ahead and return to being fully aware and alert in 5. Only opening your 2 eyes when you know all the positive transformations, all the healing, all the suggestions you've heard and experienced are locked in and permanent. Opening your 2 eyes, becoming fully aware and alert once again, returning to this place we like to call reality, noticing just how amazing you feel. And so I didn't actually time that. That was probably 10 minutes,
Well,
maybe
yeah,
15 minutes at the most. But that's just a process of using imagination, moving yourself in this altered state of consciousness, in the alpha brainwave state, and that's hypnosis.
I felt,
and
wow.
Yeah.
I mean, there was times when I felt like I could feel my brain working differently, and I was going to a different state. I could feel a different state, and I kind of thought, it's not meaning to make light of it, I thought like, oh no, am I falling asleep here or something? It felt a little bit like that moments before you fall asleep, right? The relaxed kind of like, and I felt my brain working a different way, and it was phenomenal. It was, I was trying to not plan the words that I was going to see. I was just going to look at the beach and see the words that are there rather than, okay, what words do I want to have there? Or what words do I want to have on the wall, right? Because I want my subconscious to tell me, like, these are the good things that you know you want, right? So I don't want to prep it too much. That was. Well,
and the thing is, you can listen to it again.
Yeah.
I mean, imagine listening to this for like a week, once a day for a week. And continually cleansing the beach, and I mean, you could just do the rock wall as you're falling asleep. It doesn't have to be a rock wall. Use whatever metaphor, symbolic way of programming your subconscious mind you want. That's the fascinating thing about this work. I mean, Sigmund Freud and Carl Jung and Milton Erickson and Laura Perls, who helped develop Gestalt therapy. They all said that the subconscious mind speaks to us in symbolism and metaphor and dreams and imagination, and we can speak back to it in metaphor and symbolism and imagination and daydreaming and storytelling. And so that's part of the techniques that get used, the tools used, sometimes maybe the more imaginative kind of work of walking down the beach, of erasing the words on the beach and carving new words. Now, are you literally carving words into a rock wall? No, but you can pretend. And you can use that metaphoric way of programming your subconscious mind. Maybe it's writing on a whiteboard with a marker.
Yeah.
Or, like seeing words that you erase with an eraser, and then you write new words with a permanent marker. one of those ones that's annoying because now you can't erase the board. Maybe it's more of a computer programming kind of thing. You delete the old program, put it in the trash, and empty the trash, and then you write new code, or something else.
That's funny. I teach coding, so that I think the coding is the angle that my brain went to for sure. So, well, you've done this with veterans, and you've done it with cancer, with presumably this among other things. Is there anything, like, of course, not looking for any names or breaking confidence, but can you tell us about a moment working with veterans that changed you in this work?
Yeah, it's extraordinary helping somebody. In terms of like this work, well, one story I was thinking of, because when I was kind of prepping for this today, I was thinking of a specific story, not necessarily with a veteran, but it was a woman who was in a class I was doing. So most of the work I do is over Zoom, over the internet, ever since kind of the COVID era, and nobody wanted to come in the offices anymore, and so whether it's talk therapy or relationship counseling or life coaching or doctor's appointment or hypnotherapy, all these types of sessions went to Zoom, which is kind of if there was any silver lining in that horrible situation, was that, well, now I get to work with people outside of my town, and outside of the state of Arizona and around the world. I've worked with people in all sorts of crazy places like Iceland and Bulgaria and Austria and Costa Rica and Tahiti, of all places, because of this technology. And it's because I'm not here to fix anybody, and hypnotherapy in and of itself doesn't fix anybody. You fix yourself. You are the one doing this work. And I was doing a class for the cancer support community of Arizona, and they had an office, still have an office, where I live in Flagstaff, Arizona. Mm-hmm. And I was going, doing like Saturday morning classes or Thursday evening classes and things to help give back and just, do something for the community. And they went to Zoom really, really quick because everybody has a compromised immune system. So when that whole situation started in February, March 2020, they shut down in-person stuff. And so I started learning how to do Zoom stuff. And so they'd, be 12, 14 people in one of these classes, and one class would be about pain management, another class would be about healing acceleration, another class would be boosting your immune system, that kind of thing. And at the third class, this woman who was probably in early 70s came to, was in the class, and she was a little bit early, and we're just chatting as one does about the weather and what you're going to do over the weekend, and as, just random chit chat. And then she asked me if hypnotherapy can help with procrastination. And I said, well, yeah, it helps with procrastination. That's a mindset issue. You're pulling away, putting the brakes on something, even though it may be beneficial to you, because you may subconsciously sense danger by moving forward, by getting that promotion, by doing well at the meeting, by getting that report in or the homework done. And so that's a mindset issue. There's a reason why you're doing it. You don't procrastinate in all areas of your life, so there's just probably one or two or a handful of places where you do it. So you know why you're doing it, because you're specifically only targeting certain areas in your life. Yeah, unconsciously behind that veil, but you know why you're doing it. That's the great thing about hypnotherapy. We'll part that veil, and you can ask your subconscious mind how to, not only what the core issue is, but how to rectify it or find resolution or healing around it. And so we set up a time for the very next day for a solo session. So I had an appointment at the very same time, the very next day. And Zoom session. She shows up to the Zoom session 24 hours later. And she says, I told you I wanted to work on procrastination, but what I really want to work on is why I don't matter in life. This is a 70-year-old woman who thinks she has value. She thinks she's not worthy. And so, yeah, we can definitely work on that too. The maybe core issue, because oftentimes when the subconscious mind realizes that healing work is going to happen, that, well, we can work on a issue, but why not work on the issue? And her subconscious mind said, let's just work on this issue of not feeling worthy, not feeling valuable in the world. And there's a feeling state to that in the body of not feeling worthy. And that feeling state is caused by brain chemistry changing. And in this way, brain chemistry changes due to a thought, known or unknown. And so sometimes it's just as easy to follow that feeling state back to the thought that's creating that feeling state. And so one of the ways you can do this is also through a regression process. Well, let's go back to the first time you ever felt that feeling, and therefore find the thoughts that are creating it. And so we did a regression process back to the first time she ever felt not being worthy. And I do my countdown, 10 down to 1. And 1, where are you? She says, I'm standing up in my crib. And my father's screaming at me because I won't stop crying. And that's pretty extraordinary, because that's something, I don't know, standing up in a crib, that's probably like a 12 months old or 14 months old, somewhere around there.
I have a memory from that age too, yeah.
Yeah. And well, it's not a memory that she just had. She memory that she had stored in her subconscious of this traumatic event, because her father's just yelling at her, screaming at her, and she's crying. And, if she's 70 years old, this may have been in the 1950s, I'm guessing.
Yeah.
And maybe we're not exactly trained or how to deal with children. Maybe dad just was having a bad day or having a bad week, having a bad life. Maybe he just wasn't a very nice person. But the baby's crying and mom's not around and he doesn't know what to do. And he just loses it. And the only thing he can figure out, well, maybe if I just scream louder than the baby and tell the baby to shut up, the child will just be quiet and I can get some peace. Well, in that instant of being screamed at and by this person who's supposed to love her and protect her and nurture her, she had to justify why this is happening. And that child and the trauma and the hurt and pain of this happening decide, well, I guess this must mean I don't matter in life. And she held on to that code for some 70 years until one day she says, you know what, I'm tired of this heaviness. I'm tired of holding on to this. It's time to heal. And she did. And I never saw her again. I never reached out through email and things, and she's doing great. But we did like 3 classes, general classes with a group of people, and she did one solo session that did some deep healing work, and that's what she needed to do. That's the extraordinariness of this work. You know what the problem is. Yeah, maybe unconsciously, but you're protecting yourself from something specific. You know what it is. You also know what to do about it, and that's how powerful this is. And this is different than talk therapy, which can be very helpful, very useful, very healing. But this isn't going to be like 60, 70 sessions over a year and a half or 80, 90 sessions over 2 years, talking about life and, maybe trying to consciously analyze logically the hurt and pain you may be feeling. We're just going to find where you store that within your body and link it back to the incident that happened, and let's resolve it in a way that best suits your healing. And you know what that is. That's how powerful you are. You know what that is. And that's how extraordinary this work is.
I can't help thinking about, because I'm trying to applying it to myself. I can't thinking about my earliest memory was very violent, was very aggressive. And I think it made me struggle with feeling safe in places. And the memory is of me going into a bathroom when I was 2.5 years old, and I was born in Coventry, England, and I was raised in Ireland. And back then, they would lock the door with a key. The key, a really heavy key. It's easy for it to fall into place, but it's hard for it to open. You got to pull it open, right? The key. And so apparently at 2.5, I locked myself in this bathroom, right? And I couldn't get out. And my father's response, who is pretty chaotic, he has been my whole life, was instead of knocking off the hinges and calming me, he came through the door with an axe, to the point where he came through the door with an axe. And my family was there too, to the point that I was so frightened that I had wedged myself behind the U-bend of the toilet by the time they came through this door with an axe, right? And I think that's when I realized that there's aggression, and I never really felt safe in my family, right? Because I think that's probably where that started, right? And it comes from, places I struggle with not feeling safe in places. I feel pretty confident and safe in my life and everything like that. But that kept coming up in my brain when you were talking about that. This story of my friend, and I was probably 2 and not even 2.5 when that happened.
Yeah, and you can understand how that great terror of that situation can leave an imprint for a really long time that may still be affecting you, this much later in life.
Yeah.
And in a sense, not that you did it on purpose and not that you tricked yourself and not that it's fake, but you kind of hypnotize yourself to protect yourself in a way of like, oh, this feels uncomfortable, this feels unsafe. And we need that in certain situations. That's what keeps us from walking down the dark alley at midnight.
Yeah.
Or seeing a group of, people with guns and knives. It's like, well, I don't want to go over there. You feel uncomfortable. You feel like, yeah, that keeps us safe from peering too far over the tall building or or the big valley or the edge of the canyon. That keeps us from doing that anxiety and that stress, feeling unsafe in that way. But we also can imprint in very specific situations, like you just described, where you may come back, maybe when certain people in your life gather around, for the holidays, or certain phrases even get said, or a certain tone of voice, and it can trigger the protection protocols you've set up for yourself to keep yourself safe. Because that's the main job of your subconscious mind, is to keep you safe, keep you protected, which doesn't necessarily mean successful and happy. It means safe. It means alive.
Yeah.
And so now you can program yourself for happiness and joy and practice that, but so you wire that into your brain. But in terms of what the subconscious mind's main job is for, is to keep you safe and protected. And it's going to use those events in life, those traumatic, stressful events and situations that you've been in, whether you were 1 year old or 2 years old or happened last week or somewhere in between. And it's going to keep files on these. And sometimes it may be something, the way a family member says something, or you may hear somebody yelling at their kid in the store. It's not your kid and has nothing to do with being in a bathroom or locking a door or anything, but it's that intensity and anger in the voice that may trigger something.
Yeah, it definitely changed how I interacted with my own sons. Definitely changed that. So you had talked about, so the thing we did, that imagination, because you talked about how you're going to do this technique to reset the nervous system, reduce anxiety. Was that thing, or was that something else? Because
the other thing, there's another technique if you want. I could show you real quick, or I could.
But before we get into that one, let's explain to the listener what the nervous system actually has to do with this, and why. So what's the nervous system like? How's that connected to what you're doing?
Sure. Yeah, and of course, just having like this hour or so talking with you, it takes something like 10 years to get a PhD in neuroscience. And
of course.
You have a doctorate and things. So I'm compressing things into 2 or 3 minutes. So I leave a bunch of stuff out. But the nervous system, it's this process of the mind and the body to, in terms of what we're talking about, let's just even scope it down to what we're talking about. Again, to keep you safe and protected. And as you take in the information through your 5 senses, what you see, hear, taste, touch, and smell, is being processed by your brain, and signals through the brain cells, shooting little electrical pulses, will send messages through the nerves of your body. And it may be turn on the stress response. And so the nervous system, the central nervous system, will turn on the sympathetic, which is the stress response, the fight or flight response. Most of the time, we need to be in the parasympathetic nervous system with the relaxation response, where all the systems of your body are getting the right amount of nutrients and blood supply and oxygen and power and all that. But when somebody turns on the stress response, the nervous system will send signals to all the different systems. The digestive system will actually reduce power because it wants that power in the big muscles of your arms to fight, the big muscles of your legs to escape, to power your immune system. This is why people get sick when they're stressed. This is why people get irritable bowel syndrome, IBS, when they're stressed for long periods of time. Is because oxygen and blood supply and power and nutrients are being diverted by the nervous system to empower your arms and your legs, and
so you can fight.
Yeah. So you can fight. You can run away to the first aid ambulances in your body. So if you get cut or you get stabbed or you get shot or you get caught on fire or something, it knows to send that emergency first aid. So all that's empowered and emboldened, and the kind of volume knob on that gets turned to 10. Well, that power has to come from somewhere. You only have a finite amount of power and nutrients and oxygen and blood supply in your body. So it gets diverted because you don't need to digest that sandwich so you have energy in 7 hours. You don't need to fight the common cold. That's tomorrow's problem. You don't need to fight cancer. That's next week's problem. You're in danger right now. Problem is it imagined or is it real? And because it's even like when somebody's having a nightmare in the middle of the night. Doesn't matter how crazy the nightmare may be. Like a gigantic cheeseburger chasing down the street throwing coconuts at your head is ridiculous. It will never happen. But your mind has a safety protocol of shoot first, ask questions later, and thinks that a big gigantic cheeseburger is attacking you on the streets. And so even in deep sleep, turn on the stress response. People wake up with a scream and they're sweating and their heart is racing, and so the mind can't tell the difference between what's real and what's imagined. And so you can imagine what's going on in your waking world, if that's what can happen in a dream, in a nightmare. And so one of the ways of practicing resetting your nervous system is this technique. We were going back, we're emailing back and forth about things we could talk about and techniques and things. And one of the issues of being human is what you practice, you get better at. That's great. If you want to learn the piano, if you want to learn the guitar, you want to learn dance, you want to learn martial arts, you want to learn to walk as a kid, you want to learn to ride a bicycle, you want to learn to drive a stick shift, learn to tie your shoes. There was a time when you couldn't tie your shoes, but you learned how to do that and you practice, and now you don't have to think about it. You don't have to think about walking down the street. It was difficult when you're about 12 months old. It was really, really difficult. Watch a little kid learning to walk. But now you don't have to think about these things because you practice it so much. Well, what if you're practicing anxiety? What if you're practicing fear? What if you're practicing anger? Are you not literally wiring that into your brain so it gets to the point where it's automatic and you grab an axe and you hack through a door instead of logically thinking, well, wouldn't it be better if I just undid the hinges?
Yeah.
Or got a ladder and climbed through the bathroom window or something, whatever.
Yeah.
And so with this exercise, I want to tell people, and I'll send you also, I don't have a recording of that kind of words in sand or words on the rock thing, but I have a recording and a worksheet of this technique, and I can send to you, and you can give out to people, put in the show notes or whatever. But this is called 3-2-1 reset. And the 3 is 3 slow, gentle breaths. And it's a bit obnoxious, I know, to tell somebody who may be struggling with anxiety or worry or stress or is in a stressful situation to take a deep breath. But it's literally one of the best things you can do because it's going to activate the vagus nerve. And the vagus nerve, we have 12 nerves that come out of the back of our head. That's the thing when you touch a hot pot, a signal goes up a nerve into your brain. It says, hey, you're touching a hot pot, let it go. And it goes back down, you let go of the hot pot. All within millionths of a second. Body talking to the brain because you're touching a hot pot. Mm-hmm. Well, the 10th cranial nerve is the vagus nerve. Vagus is Latin for wanderer because it wanders all over the body. It attaches to the eyes, to the ears, to the muscle of your jaw, goes past your vocal cords, attaches to your heart, to your lungs, and to your gut. And the vagus nerve is a big part of that parasympathetic nervous system, the relaxation response. By being attached to the lungs, when you breathe slowly, easily, and deeply, you stimulate the vagus nerve, create vagal stimulation, and you activate the parasympathetic nervous system, the relaxation response. So deep, breathing. Of course, you're exhaling all the carbon dioxide, the gases, and the toxins. Of course, that's very, very good for you. But on the inhale, you're taking deep oxygen. And that's really great because this brain of ours takes 20% of the oxygen you breathe in. This brain, that's something like 2% of our body mass, something like 3 pounds of our overall body weight, takes 20% of the energy, 20% of the oxygen that we're breathing in. So the more you can breathe in, the more fuel you can send to your brain. Because if you're not breathing well, if you're even holding your breath when somebody's afraid, they hold their breath, you're now not fueling your brain with the thing it needs to create calm, rational thoughts and maybe a way out of this situation and this challenge that you find yourself in. So breathing deeply. And the other thing is if it's not getting the right amount of oxygen, it's going to start turning on the power in these other systems of your body. So again, there's your irritable bowel syndrome, there's your immune system power getting turned on that because it wants that oxygen for your brain. So deep breath into your abdomen, into the bottom of your lungs. We're going to take 3 slow, gentle breaths, and then with the 2, we're going to grab our shoulders and we're going to create bilateral stimulation because when the brain is in anxiety or stress or fear or anger, it's lighting up a part of the right side of the brain. Again, this skull of ours can only hold so much blood supply and oxygen. Again, there's a finite amount of that can be in there. So it's sucking up and vacuuming up the nutrients and the oxygen to light up this part of the brain. And these parts of the brain go dark. So you can do bilateral stimulation. Here's my little ball. If you're just listening to this on audio only, I'm going to pass a ball back and forth in my hands, like I'm making a T, outstretching my hands, and I'm going to pass a ball right in front of me. And so it could be a pin. No, don't use a glass or your phone or anything. Something, if it drops, you're going to be boned. But I'm just passing a ball back and forth. Racquetball, tennis ball. Because now I'm operating on both hemispheres of my brain in different parts. Because right side of the brain controls the left side of the body. Left side of the brain controls the right side of the body. And so I'm offering both sides of the body. I need energy. I need blood supply. So I was pulling away from that anxiety and that stress. And I was lighting up these other parts. If you ever seen somebody at a meeting, maybe back in school, and they were drumming on their knees, that's bilateral stimulation. Left hand, right hand, left hand, right hand. They're nervous, and they're finding a way to calm themselves down. They probably don't know they're doing that for that reason, but it feels comfortable. And they're drumming on their knees. Walking, left foot, right foot, left foot, right foot, riding a bicycle. These are all forms of bilateral stimulation. All sorts of techniques and tools you can find on the internet or YouTube about bilateral stimulation. What we're going to do is grab our shoulders. Here's your bilateral stimulation. But you also, of course, notice that this is a hug. You are hugging yourself. And just like you sent a signal when you touched a hot pot from your hand up to your brain, you are sending a signal from your arms, your hands, up to your brain. This is loving, nurturing, healing touch. And your brain is now creating oxytocin, serotonin, and dopamine. And you want to squeeze your shoulders, whatever feels good. A big, huge hug. Maybe you rub your hands up and down your arms. Whatever feels best. Whatever feels good to you. Because you're feeling good, that means you're creating feeling good chemistry in your head. And so you're literally hacking your brain. And we're going to do one more add-on to this. And you're going to think of somebody you want to give a hug to. One person, 3, 2, 1. You're going to think of somebody you want to give a hug to. It could be somebody in your life today. It could be a family member. It could be your spouse, your boyfriend, your girlfriend. It could be one of your kids. It could be a dog, if you have a dog or a cat or some other pet. Maybe you had a dog or a cat when you were a kid. Maybe it's a good friend of yours, even though they live across the other side of the world. Maybe it's somebody who's no longer with us, your grandmother or your grandfather. Maybe it's somebody you've never met before. An author, a speaker, a teacher, a celebrity, an actor, a musician, or maybe somebody from history, Mother Teresa, Joan of Arc, Mahatma Gandhi. Pretend that you're hugging this person. Remember, the mind can't tell the difference between what's real and what's imagined. And it'll change your physiology, how you're feeling in your body due to what you're thinking and feeling. That's why a cheeseburger chasing down just 3 throwing coconuts at your head will change your physiology so you feel stressed and anxious and afraid. Imagine hugging somebody you really care about, an animal you really care about, tightly hugging yourself, thinking of that person that you're hugging, that you're pretending you're actually hugging. And you're literally changing your physiology, you're resetting your nervous system, you're hacking your brain to change the chemistry to create oxytocin, serotonin, and dopamine. What you practice, you get better at. Now, and I'll send you the link to this, and there's like a worksheet you can download and a recording you can listen to. That's more, that was more like a teaching how to do it. But the basic premise is 3, 2, 1 reset. Breathe deeply. Do it 5 times. Do it 10 times. But breathe deeply to center, relax yourself, hugging yourself, and pretending you're hugging somebody. That's it. How simple is that? You can teach that to children.
Yes.
You know, your kids this afternoon, this evening.
Mm-hmm.
You can teach your friends how to do it. It's really simple, really easy, and it's called 3, 2, 1 reset, not 3, 2, 1 do it once and your life is rainbows and unicorns for the next 50 years. Reset yourself again and again and again and again at the start of work, in the middle of your day, as your, maybe crappy day and you got to get home and be with the kids and the family. Sit in your car, or, before you walk back into your home, center yourself. 5 minutes. That's all you need. And if you want to do it for half an hour, do it for half an hour. But if you have 5, 6 minutes, you reset yourself in 5 minutes.
It sounds like, it reminds me of creating a save point, right? You're creating a save point in your, like, this is what it feels like when I'm feeling good. I thought of my son, Finn, when I was hugging someone, and he's actually on a DC trip right now, but but I thought of him, and he's such a sweet kid who still likes to hug, and he's a teenager, and it's just showing my brain, this is a good feeling. This is where you'd like to be. So be there. And it reminds me of work I've been doing on, like, you're walking down the street and you think, oh, I'm too fat or I'm too ugly, but then there's people who see you on the street saying, wow, he's attractive man. I want to be with him. I want to be with, you said it earlier, and I want to live in their brain. I want to live in their thought process, that this sexy, attractive man walking down the street who I want to be with, right? And not that I'm not totally there. I'm not totally down on myself, but it feels like that, showing your brain the save point of being in that state of mind. And that's...
Yeah, and sometimes this is a good point where you're just bringing up. It's kind of like, well, I'll get that better haircut. I'll get the new wardrobe. I'll lose, the 10 pounds, the 20 pounds, the 50 pounds. Then I'll have the confidence. Then I'll feel strong and empowered within myself. Sometimes that you need to get the confidence and the strength and the empowerment and the groundedness first.
Yeah.
Then all that other stuff then you have the momentum and the motivation to start getting into shape. And to finding the clothes that fit better and look good on, all that stuff may need to kind of reverse the way you thought it was supposed to go, and get the confidence first, get the strength and empowerment within your mind, your body, your soul, and then all those other things start lining up.
Yeah, I mean,
and then people walk down the street and they say, "Wow, that guy's really confident."
Yeah,
you see it. People have their shoulders back, or they're not looking at their phone. They're just like out in the world, feeling grounded and centered, and that's noticeable. That's attractive.
Yeah, we see those people, and we know, and but I'm sure people see us that way too. Sometimes we don't even know, but I mean, that's the person we want to be. We want to reset our brains to be that per person, and this is cool. It's kind of such a different episode. I haven't asked you hardly any of the quick questions I'd planned to ask you, but this was a great time. Well, and I appreciate you giving me time to do those processes that I don't actually do. That's very kind of rare. People tend to do the more interview style, so I really appreciate you giving time to that. Well, I prefer that, because I want something real and authentic. And regarding your recording you're referring to, I'm happy to put the recording edited into the episode around this point too.
Sure,
that people
can. What would you like to do?
You can listen. People actually. So right about now is what I'm going to put the recording, so people can listen to this process. Okay. So now they just got to hear that beautiful recording, right? The magic of editing, right? So. Wow, let's talk about your work and what you're doing. You wrote your book, Depression, like 180, and there was another work, right? The Mind
Well,
Mastery
yeah,
Blue.
it's more esoteric kind of work. That Depression 180, that's actually an older book. And so kind of, I started off, if you can believe it's been an hour already. This went really fast. But uh, as I was learning about depression, I was learning about how I manifested it in my life, if you will, how I struggled with it. I learned a lot of techniques and tools and understood a lot about depression, to the point where I was like, boy, I have a lot of information. I could probably write a book. And I had this mastermind group. If you want to get stuff done, here's my big advice to people: find a mastermind group of like-minded people. You don't have to do the same thing. So I had a mastermind group with two other people. There's three of us. We all are doing pretty, kind of different things, but we all wanted to kind of change the world and put our mark on the world. And one of the things I kind of focused on was, well, I have all this information about depression just from my own life and my own struggles. I wonder if other people might find it useful. And so I put it together in a book. Long story behind that, but it ended up being coming out as a book, and that's where then wanting to promote the book, and I started a telesummit. Back in the day, we had telesummits back in 2010, 2011. But there's a new thing called podcast, so then I started my own podcast some years ago. And that all led to wanting to get trained as a hypnotherapist. And so just kind of time-wise, I didn't do the podcast anymore. But books out there, Depression 180. The other one you just kind of mentioned is the newer one. And there's a...
Life Transformation Kit?
Oh, the Life Transformation Kit. Yeah. That's actually more recordings and more of a package of recordings people can use. And so, it's just, all these little different kind of tools and techniques people can use to,
I think you should get on the app. Something about your voice I hear back here in the back of my heart. And so there's something, you should get on the app Calm. Have you heard of the app Calm?
Oh, yeah,
Calm.
yeah.
And there's people that do series of transformational work, and you can record it, and then people listen to your recording. And you need to get on Calm because
look at that,
because I'm working with them to be a sponsor for my show because I want this space to be as transformational for people as it can be. But if someone's listening tonight and they're exhausted, as I'm sure a lot of people are, they've tried the books, the apps, the therapists, the affirmations, and they're still stuck, what would you want them to know?
I hear that, and I spent a lot of time myself struggling and trying to, find the way out, I guess, and not the way out, but the way of healing, and that's what led me down this road of healing for myself. Again, like I said at the beginning, it's been this 40-year drip of talking with you tonight and learning all these different techniques and using it in my own life. It's not that I, did hypnotherapy in my own life to do my own healing. And then again, life is rainbows and unicorns for 50 years. There are challenges in life. Children get older. Parents get older. All these challenges, work and finances and the state of the world. But in terms of what I would say to somebody, what is strongest within your mind is what you do over and over again. Again, if you're practicing piano, you're practicing martial arts, you're practicing dance, you're practicing foreign language, you're going to get really good at it. So what are you practicing? What are you noticing in your life? The patterns of maybe fear or anxiety or anger. What if you start practicing something else? Now, there may be some blocks to practicing something else, or there may be some healing work. Hypnotherapy is certainly a great technique. There's all sorts of wonderful techniques. There's 8 billion people in the world. And so there's all sorts of different methodologies. Talk therapy is a great one. Acupuncture, EDMR, maybe a combination of all these different kind of things. It doesn't take months and months and years to change your mindset to create healing. Research shows you can start rewiring your brain in just a matter of a week. Now, it doesn't heal everything in a week, but in terms of creating new neural pathways within your brain, it takes about 5-6 days to see noticeable changes in your brain of new brain cells connecting together, maybe for joy, maybe for happiness, maybe for strength and power. And so even just with this exercise for 5-6 minutes, maybe a couple of times a day, of hugging yourself. Imagine what that's going to do to your brain in just a matter of 6-7 days. And so start practicing with this. If there's other issues in life, maybe that happened even a long time ago when you were a kid, maybe things that you don't even remember, you're allowed to heal. And so, I'm happy to talk with people, do consultations with people over Zoom, over the phone.
So let's talk about where people, I was going to ask you, where can people find your work and work with you, book the 20-minute consultation? Let's
Sure, yeah. If you want, the best way is just go to the website, releasethepast.com.
Releasethepast.com, okay.
Yeah. You can go to craigmeriwether.com. There's so many different ways of spelling Meriwether. I thought I'd try to find something that's a little more easy to remember. So releasethepast.com, and that'll get you to my website, and just you can email me or set up a time on my schedule to chat.
That's great.
And see how these methods may help you create your best life. The books you can find on Amazon and all that fun stuff. But
we got there. I mean, it did feel really special. I wish I want to do the breathing and the healing and the hugging thing. I mean, I know we talked about it. We didn't exactly do it together, but we could. The recording's in here for people to do it, so they can hear it. But even the little part that I did, because when you're talking about it, I was doing it a little bit, and I definitely felt it. The brain was working a different way. So before we close and say goodbye, and I always talk to amazing people like yourself, and I'm always like, I could talk for 10 hours, but I know people don't have that time. But before we close, is there anything that you'd like to say that we didn't go over?
There's so much we went over, and it was so much great stuff. But again, I would say it's the awareness that you have about your life and what it is you want to change. Even if you're not even really sure what the core issue is, may not have the memory from being 2 years old, or you do, Doyle, but like the lady I was talking about, the example I was talking about, she didn't remember that at all until her subconscious mind brought it forth as the core issue of where it all started. The real thing is the mind can't tell the difference between what's real and what's imagined. And again, that's why a nightmare can feel so scary and so real, even though you're cozy and comfortable in bed. And so you can change your physiology. So these are the ways you can start creating change. Pretending you're on a beach and erasing those words and carving new words. And even if you're falling asleep at night, you can do that kind of work, or as you're waking up in the morning. And so it's time to start finding the techniques that work for you. Again, there's hundreds upon hundreds of techniques and tools. There's not one size fits all for everybody, with all 8 billion of us on this earth. So it's that, you start working towards that one step at a time, and you'll get there.
I really appreciate it. Something that I want to pursue myself selfishly. When I heard you coming on, I thought, I want to talk about this for myself. This is, that's why we are drawn to people, because, we hear something and we see something that, we see in ourselves or that we desire, right? So I really appreciate you taking the time to come and speak to us, and hopefully we can send lots of people your way, and people can start to heal. And, I think sometimes I'm glad you said it, because when I think about what's my core problem, and I'm thinking about, I don't know if I know. I mean, I don't think there's a lot wrong, but I don't know if I know what the core thing is. And I wanted to ask you about past lives. So you believe in past lives, right, too? You believe that?
Yeah. In fact, that's the other book, the Past Lives Guidebook, and then it's a bit of more esoteric and topic. But what I find fascinating about therapeutic hypnosis is this relaxed state of mind and body. Not only can you use it for healing and for improving confidence and centeredness, but you can use these techniques for more spiritual means as well.
So go ahead. I'm sorry.
Well, as you say, there's so much. So many wonderful books out there. That the reason my book came about is because of my skepticism about it all. I'm fascinated with the spiritual world, but I grew up Episcopalian and went to a Baptist school, so reincarnation and past lives were not a part of my upbringing. But as I learned more about the world, it was interesting, but it's like, again, not something I really believed in or not, but just kind of my own experiences as I, investigated and explored more spiritual topics. Some of that stuff started coming up for me, and in just wanting to understand it more, again, through my own skepticism and my own curiosity. I started researching it, and then again, one of those one things leads to another. It's like, well, I have all this wonderful research and like studies about consciousness, time, and the remote viewing experience, the remote viewing experiments. Excuse me, and research that the CIA, the American government, was doing in the 1970s, proving that consciousness is non-local, meaning it's not kind of imprisoned within the skull, but can move around location and see into underground bunkers, because they were trying to weaponize it, because they thought the Soviet Union was trying to weaponize psychic ability and ESP. So they were getting in on it, and they proved that consciousness is non-local and can move forward and backwards in time. It just opened, and let alone, that was the 1970s. And so, let alone what else has happened in the last 50 years in terms of research. And is this reality of ours a computer simulation, or the holographic universe, or the multiverse, or parallel universe? All this incredible stuff. And I started just wanting, for my own edification, for my own curiosity, my own skepticism, looking into it, and that, one thing leads to another, and all of a sudden, here's a book. So the book I wrote about is more about the science, about the history of past life regression and reincarnation through other cultures throughout time, their theories about it, their philosophies about it, their theologies about it. And it's just it's fascinating, because you can just see, even in Neanderthal burial sites, they had certain, just the way they buried people and with what they buried them with, they had certain thoughts about life after death. So even way back then, 50,000 years ago,
we always knew it in our core. I became a believer in past lives in Amsterdam about 2 years ago, and I know people have these stories where I had a personal feeling of going down a street, and there was an alleyway, and I said, I got to go down the alleyway, because there's a door down there, number 10, a red door with a trellis over it. And first time in Amsterdam, and that door was down that road, was exactly the way I remembered it. It's like I had experienced it before. I had been there before. I knew it was down there. I described it with that before I saw. It was around the corners. I wasn't seeing it from where I was. So I had an experience of something that I experienced in a past life. I remembered something.
Well, what's so fascinating is so much research coming out about this brain of ours not being a storage house of memories, but it's an antenna, with the pineal gland being the transducer. So back in the day, we had our car radios, and had a little antenna on the hood of the car. And there's, in a big town, London, New York, San Francisco, Tokyo, there could be 50 radio stations between the news and sports and talk radio and all sorts of music. And when you turn on your radio, you don't get 50 radio stations. It's whatever it's set at. And then you turn the dial. When you get tired of that station, you move to a different station. You're pulling this in. These frequencies, these signals through that antenna into your radio. The transducer in there turns that signal, that frequency, back into sound. Or in your back in the day, our television sets. Now it's all streaming and internet and all that stuff. But back in the day, we had an antenna on the TV or on our house, pulled in the frequency of the show we wanted to watch at the time it was in the airwaves, and the transducer in your television turned that frequency, that signal, back into image and sound. And you got to watch a TV show. That's what a lot of research coming out in the last 10 years suggesting the brain is doing.
I think, I don't know if you've done a lot of research, but it sounds similar to, I did a whole show on quantum, the quantum and life after death in quantum physics. There's research saying that we do have an existence after death in the quantum state. So that's suggesting that there's other states of consciousness which aren't like the one we think of today, because what I say to our son is, we're just this big pile of meat and chemicals and water that thinks we're alive, and we're just this, what really are we? What is thinking? What are we doing? I think there's so much more than just this animal who thinks they're special. I think on this, we should think, well, I knew this was going to be a fun one. I was excited about this because this is real juicy stuff I like to talk about, and I'd love to have you back some other time, but I don't want to keep you.
Yeah, maybe get more depth than what we're talking about, quantum consciousness and past lives.
Yeah, it's really
cool. Other things, that'd be fun. That's a fun conversation.
Yeah, you should look into it, and we can talk about it because there's some fascinating research on quantum physics and past lives and life after death and stuff like that. And I mean, it'd be cool if you had some scientific, something to hold on to. This proves there is some existence after death, right? Not that I have any doubt that your consciousness goes on and continues, but some people would like to have this solid proof.
Yeah, but it's your experience is a hard one to just kind of shrug your shoulders at. It's pretty extraordinary. Ian Stevenson did all that work in the 60s and 70s, doing forensic evidence around kids who are having past lives and reincarnation memories of being in other families, in other villages, in other parts of the country. And he'd go explore this. And even if he was like 99% wrong and didn't investigate right, 1% is still right.
Yeah, the 1%.
That William James quote of he was one of the modern psychotherapy developers. To prove all crows are not black, you only need one white crow.
Mm-hmm.
Well, how many past life stories and reincarnation stories and the books of Michael Newton, Journey of Souls, Destiny of Souls, Brian Weiss? How many of these do you need? And let's say 99% of them are wrong.
Yeah.
This means out of 100 stories, one of them is right.
But
one of them is really reincarnation story, a real past life memory.
Yeah.
How many white crows do you need to prove all crows are not black?
Yeah, one is enough. If you've won, like if you're 1% sure God exists, you're sure that God exists, right?
Yeah.
Because I mean, if there's any realm of this is a fascinating topic too. We need to talk about. Yes. Again, I could speak to you for 10 hours.
But another 8-hour conversation.
Really, we have spoken for almost like an hour and a half right now. But hey, Craig, this was really a fun one. I'll thank you so much, and we will find a time to talk again. And I really appreciate your time and the techniques. Do send me that thing that I can put in the episode.
Yeah, I'll definitely do that.
And I need paperwork and stuff. I'll talk to you about that logistics off air. But thank you so much, and I'll let you have the last word.
Oh, thank you. Well, thank you, Joe. I appreciate you inviting me on, and especially going long and doing those techniques. I really appreciate that. That's fun for me to do and teach people those things. I don't get to do it very often. And just dipping our toe in there at the end with the more esoteric stuff. That's also extraordinarily fascinating. And so, I'd love to come back and
we should
do another, hour and a half about that kind of stuff.
Let's plan it. Let's explore that. And here I said you'd have the last word, and then I talked again. Let's explore that. I think that would be a fun time.
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, thank you. There's a moment tonight I keep coming back to. Craig talking about the brain not as a storage house, but as an antenna. An old car radio pulling in the signal that's already there, already playing, waiting for us to turn up the dial. The image undoes something. It means that parts of us we're spending years trying to fix, silence, or outthink were never broken machinery. They were just tuned to an old frequency, set there a long time ago by a version of us too young to know it was choosing anything at all. And then Craig did what he said he'd do. He didn't just talk about resetting the nervous system. He walked us into it, live, in real time. No metaphor standing between us and the thing itself. That's rare. Most people talk about the underneath place. Craig took us there. We wandered, too, into a stranger country by the end, past lives, red doors in Amsterdam, the quiet suggestion the consciousness might not be a pile of meat and chemicals, convincing itself it's special, but something that continues, something older than any one lifetime. I don't know what to do with all of that. I'm not sure Craig does either, fully. But I know this, you only need one white crow to prove not all crows are black. Maybe that's true of more than past lives. Maybe that's true of hope itself. Next time your own underneath starts running the show, the panic rising at the same moment it always rises. Remember, you have the dial. You're allowed to turn it. If this episode moves something in you, go find Craig's work, The Pressure 180, The Mind Mastery Blueprint, whatever meets you where you are right now. And if it moves something in someone you love, send it to them tonight, not tomorrow. Now go make a story worth telling. Good night.